What if everything you've been told about happiness is wrong? What if the endless chase for pleasure, success, or approval isn't really the path to feeling truly happy? Today, we're going to explore a different kind of truth about happiness. One that's uncomfortable, challenging, but ultimately freeing. And it's all inspired by the wisdom of Jiddu Krishnamurti, a thinker who dared to question the very foundation of what we believe about our minds and emotions. Let's start with the obvious. Everyone wants to be happy. But ask yourself, what does happiness mean to you? Is it getting a raise, buying a new gadget, going on a vacation, or maybe even just feeling calm for a moment? These are the usual answers, right? Society teaches us that happiness is a goal, something outside of us to be attained. But Krishnamurti says something radical. Happiness is not a goal. It's not something to be chased or earned. He believed that true happiness cannot exist in the future. It can only exist in the present, right here, right now. And this is where it starts to get tricky, because most of us live in a constant state of not now. We think, I'll be happy when I get that promotion, or I'll be happy when I find the right person, or I'll be happy when things finally calm down. But the truth is, the moment we tie happiness to a future event, we disconnect from the only place happiness can actually be felt, the present moment. Krishnamurti challenges us to question this conditioning. Why do we keep postponing our happiness? Why do we accept this endless waiting game? The answer lies in the structure of our minds. Our minds are built to desire, to want, and in that wanting lies the seed of suffering. When you want something that you don't have, you feel incomplete. You feel unhappy. But what if you stopped wanting for a moment? What if you could observe your desires without getting lost in them? This is not about suppressing desire or pretending to be emotionless. It's about awareness, seeing the nature of your own mind clearly. Krishnamurti taught that when you observe your thoughts and desires without judgment, without trying to change them or push them away, something remarkable happens. The mind stops creating conflict with itself. There is no more, I want this, versus, I don't want that. There is simply seeing, and in that pure observation, happiness arises, not as a distant dream, but as a natural state. This happiness is not dependent on circumstances. It is not fragile or fleeting. It doesn't rise and fall with the ups and downs of life because it's not tied to anything outside of you. Now, you might be thinking, that sounds great in theory, but how do I actually do this? Here's where most people get stuck. The mind resists this kind of freedom because it's comfortable with its patterns, with its endless seeking and running after what it thinks will make it happy. Krishnamurti says that the first step is to bring full attention to your own mind, to watch it closely like an outsider. Notice how it jumps from one desire to another, how it clings to certain ideas about yourself and the world. This attention is not about trying to fix anything or judge yourself. It's simply watching, and this watching itself creates a gap, a space between you and your thoughts. In that space, something new can arise, a freedom from the usual cycle of wanting and dissatisfaction. You begin to see that your unhappiness isn't caused by the world, but by your reaction to it. It's your mind's resistance, your attachment to how things should be, that causes pain. But what does this freedom feel like? It's not an exciting rush or a dramatic change. It's more like a quiet peace, a deep sense of ease. When the mind stops fighting with itself, when it no longer chases after what it doesn't have, it experiences a kind of happiness that doesn't need a reason. This doesn't mean you stop caring about life or stop wanting to improve your situation. Krishnamurti wasn't against action or growth. Instead, he invited us to act from a place of clarity and understanding rather than from desire and fear. Imagine living without that constant pressure to achieve, without the anxiety of not enough. What if you could meet each moment as it is, without adding stories about how it should be different? That is the essence of Krishnamurti's teaching on happiness. Now you might wonder, if happiness isn't about achieving or accumulating, then what is it? It's a state of being, a quality of the mind that is free from conflict, from fragmentation. And the key to that freedom is self-awareness. Self-awareness means not running away from your thoughts and feelings, but fully facing them, without escape or denial. When you do this, you break the cycle of unconscious suffering. You stop feeding the inner drama and instead become a witness to it. This is a different kind of happiness than what the world usually sells us. It's not flashy or momentary. It's a deep, stable peace that comes from understanding yourself, your mind, and the nature of desire. So the next time you find yourself chasing after something to feel happy, pause. Ask yourself, am I postponing happiness? Am I waiting for some external event to finally feel okay? And what if happiness is already here, waiting in the present moment? If only I open my eyes to see it. That's the truth about happiness that nobody wants to hear. It's not out there. It's inside. And it begins with watching your own mind without judgment, without interference. If you found this helpful, make sure to subscribe for more insights inspired by Krishnamurti and other great thinkers. Remember, the journey to true happiness is not about finding something new outside, but discovering what's been inside all along. Thanks for watching. Until next time, stay present. Now let's dig a little deeper. You might ask, why is it so hard to simply be present and happy? Why does the mind keep pulling us away from this natural state of peace? Krishnamurti offers a powerful insight here. He points out that our entire education, upbringing, and social conditioning train us to live in conflict. From a young age, we are taught to compare, to compete, to judge ourselves and others. We develop ideas of who we are supposed to be, and these ideas become cages. Inside these cages, the mind is restless. It wants to break free but doesn't know how. It chases pleasure and avoids pain, but this cycle only creates more suffering. The mind becomes a battlefield of desires and fears, constantly at war with itself. This conflict is what blocks happiness. When your mind is divided, fragmented, and full of contradictions, true happiness cannot arise. Happiness needs wholeness, a mind at peace with itself. Here's an example. Think about a time when you felt truly happy, really at ease. Maybe it was a moment in nature or a simple conversation with someone you care about. In those moments, you weren't caught up in your thoughts about the past or worries about the future. You were fully present. Krishnamurti's message is that this state of presence is not a rare or special event. It is your natural state, the state of the mind when it is not distracted by its own noise. But because we're so used to mental chatter, we don't realize it's always available. Another important point he makes is that the search for happiness through external things, money, status, relationships, often leads to disappointment. Why? Because these things are always changing. They're impermanent. When we rely on something outside ourselves for happiness, we're building on shaky ground. Imagine building a house on sand. No matter how beautiful the house is, the foundation is unstable. When the tide comes in, the sand shifts and the house collapses. That's what it's like relying on external things for happiness. They're temporary, and when they change or disappear, so does your happiness. So what's the alternative? Krishnamurti suggests that instead of looking outward, we turn inward. Not in a selfish way, but in a way that understands the workings of the mind itself. This means observing your thoughts, emotions, and reactions as they happen, without trying to control or suppress them. It's like watching a river flow without trying to stop it or redirect it. You just observe. And in that observation, the river of your mind calms. You see the patterns, the habits, the endless chasing and running. Awareness itself begins to dissolve these patterns. This kind of self-awareness requires courage, because when you truly watch yourself, you might see parts that are uncomfortable, fears, anger, confusion. But the paradox is that only by facing these parts without judgment can you free yourself from them. Krishnamurti often said that freedom comes with understanding, not with resistance or fighting against your mind, but with a deep, compassionate understanding of how it works. This is a radical idea because it asks us to stop trying to fix or improve ourselves in the usual sense. It asks us to stop believing that happiness is something out there to be grabbed. Instead, it invites us to discover happiness as a natural state that arises when the mind is clear, aware, and free from conflict. And here's the catch. This freedom and happiness cannot be achieved through effort alone. It can't be forced or willed into existence. The harder you try to grab it, the more it slips away. That's why so many people are exhausted chasing happiness and never find it. Krishnamurti's teaching suggests a different approach. Stop chasing. Stop struggling. Instead, be still. Watch your mind. See the desires and fears without identifying with them. Let them be as they are without resistance. When you do this, something shifts inside. The mind begins to see itself clearly, and in that clarity there is peace. There is happiness. This is not a promise of a perfect life. Life will still have challenges, difficulties, and pain, but your relationship to those things changes. You no longer react with fear or frustration. You respond with awareness and calm. So the truth about happiness that Krishnamurti reveals is simple but profound. Happiness is not about acquiring or becoming. It's about understanding and being present. It's about freeing yourself from the mental prison of desire and fear. In the next part, we'll explore some practical ways to begin this journey of self-awareness and how to bring these teachings into everyday life, so you can start experiencing this kind of freedom now. True happiness isn't something you find outside. It's already inside you, waiting to be discovered through awareness and presence. By watching your mind without judgment, you can break free from endless wanting and find real peace. Start now and see how your life transforms when happiness becomes your natural state, not a distant goal.